Good morning or good afternoon, depending on where you're tuning in from. You're listening to IXIA Show's episode 3 on the dynamic release management feature. This webinar series is exclusively about IXIASOFT CCMS, its new features and functionalities, best practices, and how-tos. The IXIA Show's concept was developed as a collaboration between IXIASOFT's product and marketing teams. Each episode focuses on a new element of the CCMS and features a demo so you can get a feel for the software. My name is Sydney Jones, and I will be your host today. I'm the head of marketing communications here at IXIASOFT. So one last thing before we start, this presentation is being recorded, so you will all receive a recording to this after it airs. There will also be a Q&A session at the end of the webinar. However, you can type in your questions at any point. There is a questions drop-down in your control panel, so we encourage you to do that, and our guest speaker will answer your questions at the end. Lastly, we are providing all attendees with an informative PDF about IXIASOFT's DRM module or feature, which is what this webinar is about. So this is available at any point during the webinar in the handout section of your control panel. So if you're interested, go ahead and download that. It will be up on our website a little bit later as well. So grab a chair, get comfortable, and enjoy the show. Our guest today, who you may recognize from previous IXIA talks, is IXIASOFT's Technical Account Manager for EMEA, Nolwenn Kerzreho. Good morning, Nolwenn.
Good morning, Sydney. Good morning, everyone.
So before I let Nolwenn start, I will introduce her to all of you. She is based in Rennes, France, and like I said, is the Technical Account Manager for IXIASOFT. And Nolwenn is kind of a jack of all trades. She's at turns a technical author, a technical translator, knowledge manager, data specialist, teacher, and more. She's also evangelist and author of several publications, including Current Practices and Trends in Technical Communication. So Nolwenn, I will let you start.
Thank you for the presentation, Sydney. On our agenda today, who is IXIASOFT and what is IXIASOFT CCMS? And then we'll move on to DRM as a feature, what does it bring? Then the presentation will show 3 common challenges and the scenarios to solve them. So we have selected 3 scenarios here and challenges. Well, the first one is teams and products, how to organize them, components and variants, and the third one is continuous and parallel deliveries. Then we'll move on at demonstrating the authoring experience, followed by the Q&A and the session for overview and wrap-up.
Okay, so thank you, Nolwenn, for that introduction. Just to give you a heads up here as to who we are at IXIASOFT. So we have customers that span from North America, Europe, Japan. Our customer base has an average of, many of our customers have a $1 billion in revenue per year. We would also like to say that despite supporting larger companies, we also support those with smaller teams. So teams, for example, of 1 to 10. So don't be afraid. You are seeing big names up here on the screen, but we do support companies with much smaller teams as well. So Nolwenn, I'll let you take it away.
Right. As a quick reminder, what is IXIASOFT CCMS? Well, first of all, the CCMS supports default workflows and object statuses that allow users to quickly recognize where they're at. Of course, as a user, you can assign tasks for each step of the content development cycle. As we're using a single repository, the content updates are shared simultaneously amongst everyone, and the CCMS prevents overriding changes with a check-in, check-out mechanism. Because we're in a single repository and a single system, teams can share roles, any kind of automation, triggers, workflows, and publishing scenarios. Writers can branch content for edits, can create snapshots and archives, in order to recreate or retranslate content from baselines. So you're probably wondering, what does the DRM feature bring, really? And first, a little background. DRM is the acronym for Dynamic Release Management. And it stems from a customer's complex documentation challenges. For all of those who are most familiar with data, DRM is based on keys. And note that IXIASOFT customers in software, machinery, telecom, semiconductors have since leveraged that DRM feature. There are multiple use cases for DRM, but mostly DRM lets you organize who sees and edits which content branches, lets you organize reusable content into shared libraries or branches, if you like, so you can make them available to the right teams. DRM also lets you control the applicability of change. So from a version to a version, or from a shared branch to different versions. I will see a little bit more about this. So in this webinar, and for the sake of clarity, we'll have a look at three main scenarios that we selected. So let's start with the first one, called Managing and Organizing Teams and Products with DRM. And we'll start with common challenges to help you maybe recognize some of those challenges. So as an information architect, you probably want to organize your Teams desktop, and basically you maybe don't want authors to filter or see or access content that doesn't apply to them. And really the idea is to build a framework for the authors with reusable blocks that are safe to reuse. As a writer, you want to see and access only the content that applies to you. So the structure provided by the information architects. That is, you only want to see the topics, maps, and conrefs, concurefs that are safe to reuse. In this example, imagine that your products are varied and somewhat only loosely related. Maybe you do have content that's for some software, maybe some simple hardware and complex software and complex hardware. And it's not necessarily common content between them. You still want to share the automation, the workflows, and the publishing scenarios, but the idea is to organize content per team. So if you look at this picture, we have here a big bucket where writers need to think about what is right for them and their product information. Teams A, B, C, D potentially can see and edit each information, of course, depending on their roles. But still, you may want to display this to everyone, but maybe you don't. And wouldn't it be easier if you could organize the content per teams? So in this example, team A, the first one, works on hardware 1, while team C finishes up the risk analysis information. And team D monitors the legal information. Now, of course, the organization doesn't have to be this strict. You could have something more open. If you can flip to the next slide, please. Yes, here we go. So here we have additional access where, for example, the hardware team needs to be able to see and reuse the safety content and the legal content, whilst the safety and legal team can participate and need to participate with the, for example, content reviews and approvals. And this concludes our first scenario, organizing teams and products. Now we have the second scenario, which is organizing shared product component and product variants. A little bit more information about the common challenges that you may recognize is, for example, as an information architect, I want to make sure that the product structure and the product documentation is available for the teams. And not only that, I want shared content to be available between these teams. Think about regulations, for example, or product components. And as a writer, I really would need to be able to pick the version of the component to build my product information. So really to have a choice here and to control where the changes apply. And we'll see that in the demonstration. So let's have an example here where we do have products that share core information, but must work with optional components. So each option can evolve on its own time, have different life cycles. And you might want to pick the versions, not only the latest. So if you picture this, we do have here hardware with an engine chassis, risk analysis, legal information. And there are some options like the filter, the color, and weather conditions. Now, when the content evolves, like this filter here, maybe it's fine for me, but maybe I want to have a little bit more options in there. For example, that wouldn't really apply for the colors. And this is what I have here. I can have all of this content available in separated branches and have the writer pick the option that works for them and their product. And of course, this may be true for hardware 1, but it's on the next slide, we'll see that the version 2 is also able to pick the content that applies. So you may have impacts that go from V1 to V2, so from version to version, but also have changes controlled on the right-hand side in the filters and the colors and the weather options that we have here. And this concludes our second scenario. We'll move on to the continuous and parallel deliveries and how to organize that. So in this third and final scenario, the DRM feature helps customers provide continuous delivery. Imagine as a delivery manager or probably product owner, you want continuous delivery for all the live versions of your product. So not only automate the updates from one version to the next, as we've seen before, but also automate the publishing from dedicated release branches. As the writer, you want to be able to create easily a new version and have a choice to edit multiple versions at the same time or select where the changes apply. And we'll see that in the demonstration. In this example, what we're seeing is that the content is developed in the working branches at the bottom line. That's the V1 hardware 1. And once ready, the content is pushed automatically to the continuous delivery branch, where it's picked up for publishing. So if you flip just one slide, Sydney, please. Yes, that's the one. So this blue arrow is an automation from the working branch to the delivery branch. Now, of course, we're going to have a V2, and where the same behavior would apply. So we still have that blue arrow. Now, of course, if this V1 and this V2 have to live together, you would need to have this publishing in parallel. And that's why we're talking about not only continuous, but also parallel deliveries here. So the blue arrows that go up show the publishing automation, whilst the double orange arrow shows you how you can make edits that would also apply to the next release. And of course, you can make backfix, etc., etc. And with this last scenario, we conclude the slide presentation. Just to summarize, DRM is very practical, very powerful, and you should consider it, especially if you must split content between multiple teams and loosely related products, but still want to manage the shared content between these products. If your product is built at an aggregation of components and variants, and you need to manage the applicability of changes between these components and products. And the last one is really if you want to work in parallel and deliver continuously multiple releases, DRM is probably the right answer for you. So, as we've seen in the common challenges, the information architect really creates the framework for the writer, and the writer is a consumer of that framework. So we're going to see during the demonstration the tip of the iceberg, in a sense. We're going to consume that environment. Here we have a little context as a writer. I'm working currently on the latest convertible documentation, but I'm already asked to create the documentation for a special edition, a limited edition of that car. And it's going to be almost the same, almost, but has an autopark function. So on the activities, we're going to see a few things, mostly create a new edition from the current map. We'll fix some typos, make changes in different places, edit the description of the supercharge, create a new map for that function description. And throughout, I'm going to assign topics to my colleagues because I'm not going to do that on my own.
Okay, so Nolwenn, I will hand over the screen to you.
Perfect. Thank you, Sydney. So now I have it. And I'm going to log here as on the web as Zoe Writer. And as you can see, my default view is the assignment. As a writer here, I have godlike powers over the content. I can see everything that I'm able to search through. But what I'm seeing here, these 6 assignments, is really the current content that I should be working on. So my to-do list, in a way. So you see that there are some options to filter by status. Everything is at work. By context or by type. So I can filter, see only the maps or only the topics. Moreover, what I can see is that some of this content has a little breadcrumb at the bottom, and I can see that it's in a branch in this version new convertible, and this is a link to the map. So we're having indications here of where the content resides already, and throughout the interface, you'll see that's the case in most places. From this to-do list, I can move already the content to someone else, or I can edit it. You see that I have this mini convertible. That's the one that I'm actually currently working on. That has a little star that is black here, and this means it's in my favorites, and we'll use that later today. Just wanted to highlight this. So let's open it. So this is one view of the map, one possibility. And I see that I do have the topic structure, first off, in the main view. And on the sidebar here, I see already some information about this map. It's in authoring work. Yes, well, we're currently working on it. This is where it stems and stays. So I'm assigned as an information architect on this one. So I'm the head for that delivery when it was last modified, these kind of things. On the topic side, again, I can have different icons here. And wherever I want, I can click on this move icon and see the status and who's assigned for that specific topic. So this is considered finished. So some of my content for the current documentation is ready. Some content, not so much. I can see that this is still at the work status, which is the first status for our content in the CCMS. Now I do have these two options to edit or to fork. And this is where it's going to get interesting. Since when I click, for example, in this welcome topic, when I click on the fork, I see that, yes, this topic is at authoring done. That's the message I have here at the top. And I can select the branches in which I want to edit the topic. So I see that new convertible is my current branch. And I could, decide to fork and edit, which means I would make a copy of that file that would apply only to the current branch and start again writing and making change that only apply to new convertible. If I click on edit, there are two choices. Either that content is going to open up right away, which means it's only available in that, it's applicable only to that branch, or it's going to show me the see-through where that topic is used. So there is no risk of making an error, basically. You can click away and see what happens. Now, I need to create this limited edition, right? And I'll do that by moving at the top here and clicking on Create New Instance. Okay, this is going to ask me where I want to create this new instance. Since this is a new edition, I'll create a new branch to store it. And I call it limited edition and add a description, but that's fine. I'll just click create. And what's happening here, I can see it looks like the same map, right? But see at the top here in the breadcrumb, I see convertible, and it's not new convertible, it's now limited edition, and then the name of the map. It's also indicated here on the sidebar. So now when I click edit, I will see that this content, this topic is reused everywhere. It's reused in this limited edition, which is the current branch, but it's also used in new convertible. So I can decide where I want to make those changes, right? And we'll do that later. What I want to show you for now is how you can view this in the dependencies as well. So again, at the top here, one of the main challenges is usually, finding your content. What are the impacts? And I see here the map is not referenced by anything. It's a top map. It has 11 references and 2 instances. And these 2 instances are the various versions of that content. So I had an old one that is finished, and I have this current that I'm currently working on at the same time as this limited edition. Now, if I want the references, this is all the topics that are inside the map. And I see wherever it's used. So for each topic, I can see if it's used everywhere. I have a see-through basically to all the applicable version. So some of them are only in 2, some of them are in 3, and that's fine. That's what I want. So again, I'll go back to the map, and we're going to edit the map. And I'm selecting Mini Convertible in limited edition. Now I would like to show you the content view. So that's my current map. I probably know it very well. In this content view, I see that I have a typical view, I would say, for the structure of a map, where I have, all the metadata, some key depths, and then the structure. I'm going to add, for this limited edition, I'm going to change the title first. And I'm going to add a key by only clicking on this variable button here. And the edition is going to be supercharge. And there it is. Now this content view is also fairly interesting, as I can see the actual content of these topics. And that's just came up a few days back, last week, I think, was the time for it. And here, it's fairly easy to scroll down and see the content. You have the ability to check the spell checks. You have the ability to see, this is some ongoing content. So I see that there are some changes in some of the content. I may want to check that. And you can actually do this directly by clicking on the engine oil here. This arrow will actually open the topic in a new tab and present the topic. Now, if I want to edit engine oil, you can click on the pencil at the top here. And here goes. I have these options. Now, this is my current content, right? So I want to edit everywhere. So I'll just click edit, and it's going to make that change available everywhere. I want to see the review panel. Yeah, maybe I want to change that. So I can select oil flow, see that I do have the track change set up here. So one other quick option would be to go through and accept or reject changes. So accept this to, this is correct for the classes. And there are no comments to delete. So I'm going to keep this viscosities and check it in. Remember, I said that within the system, we have a check-in, check-out mechanism. So this topic is viewable by everyone, but I'm the only person editing it. And now I'm going to make that change available to everyone else. So fixed a few typos and check it. All right, and it's done. So I may want to reload this map to see the change. I can also probably check it in because I have, what have I done? I've changed the title here and added a key depth. I'll probably want to edit the presentation of that new limited edition by selecting the welcome topic and making a change here. Again, on the sidebar, I see that this topic is used in all of these different versions, and it's finalized. So it's supposed to be approved. Now I want to make a change that would apply only on the limited edition. It's okay for my new convertible. And to do this, I will rely on the system to tell me, hey, where can I edit it? And can I? And you can actually. So in this case, I'm going to start a new topic that's going to be a clone of this one, but it's going to be at the new status, and it's going to be only available for that current, well, that limited edition. So you see that now it's at authoring work and it's the limited edition. And I can make a change. So I'll add a new paragraph and add that file that I had copied already. And well, I can reuse that supercharged edition name. Check in. Description of the edition and check in. So all these comments are staying within the revision history. So we've been doing quite a lot of things. We've cloned this mini convertible limited edition. We've fixed a few changes in the oil section with the SAE classes. We have added in the map itself, changed the title, added a key depth. We've changed this welcome topic that was used everywhere, but now is specific to my limited edition. And what I also need to do is the next thing that I'm going to do is create a new map, a new description for that specific park assistance, or the auto park. And this is going to be now my next task. So I'll just close this and I'll create a new map. So it's going to be the auto park. I'm selecting a language here. English is the one I want. And here I have some templates with various options. This is fairly configurable. You can have whatever makes sense for your content model. And here, of course, I'm going to select this function. So we'll have an empty summary and 2 empty chapters and 2 keys that are going to be created right away. So we've selected the template. Now we're going to select where it's going to be stored. And I could add this directly into my convertible, or I could add it into my notes. And actually the notes is a library. So I will want to select this to add the content. Could be component, would be a better name for it, but that's what I'm going to use here, because I want to make that available to other types of cars. And I'll create. So again, at the top, the thing you can see is it's in the notes library, in this branch, library notes v1, and that's the name of the map. By default, I'm in the content view that is retained from my previous selection. And again, you know, I'm able to make the changes that I want. So for example, I may want to see a little bit more information about these keys that were added. The branch here is defined, so I can see it. I can move my content around, so I can demote or promote that content. And from here, you can also create new topics, but that's not what I'm going to do here. I'm going to first add another key and call this the function name, which is going to be auto park. All right. And here you see it's added. Check this in. Oops, created new description. Now again, you can see that there isn't much content in there, and that's fine. I'm not going to write it all by myself. I'll just add a description here. You need to click edit first. And I didn't have a choice of different versions to select from because it's only used in one place. So here I will be able to cheat a little bit and select this content. And if you need to, you can reuse the variables, for example. That's the one I want. There we go. So I could add here some comments or annotations for the person I'm going to assign it to, or prepare whatever content needs to be done. But I'm going to just check it in and assign it to another writer. And in this case, so I'll just check it in, add a new comment saying, prepare it for Anna. Now I'm done. And from the map structure view, I'm going to assign this to Anna. So here, I'm going to edit that. You see that I can assign a role. This is for the writers, and I will select Anna, delete myself. The rule is here that only one writer is assigned, so that's fine. And I could add another role. I could say, okay, Anna is the person who's going to complete it, but I want to have a reviewer as well, and that reviewer is going to be George, right? So you can select all the different steps, the next steps for that content right away. Yeah, see this. See now that I have, it's currently in work, but the next person going to work on it is Anna. And then for the review, it's going to be George. And I move it. All right, so now when I click on the summary of the function, I see that it's assigned to Anna. That's what I want. All right, the last thing I need to do is to add this map, this submap to my current map. And I could search for it, or I could also use my favorites. That's going to be fairly easy. And edit. And then we'll see this last option I wanted to show you on this content view. That is how to insert topics and maps. I'm going to insert this at the bottom. So it's a new reference, and you see it states topic, but it doesn't really matter. I can select whatever I want. So I want to see the maps here and search. I see all kind of content that's already available. Some general safety information, some general content for reuse. And here I see library notes 1 auto park, and that's the one I see. I also want to highlight that I'm seeing content that stems from different places, right? This is convertible, new convertible, and this is notes, library of notes. So in this example that I'm showing you, everything that's in a way for reuse is stored here. So I can preview it, or I can select and insert right away. There we go. Okay, I probably want to promote this. That's even better. And check it in. Oops. Now there are different things that I can highlight. First off, I can generate outputs right away from this system. So I will select here a PDF and just click generate. It's for demonstration purposes. And I can see these outputs in a dedicated outputs menu. And as a side note, so I'm seeing one generated, none failed, and one in progress. Here I'm seeing content only for 7 days. So it doesn't replace the automation that you probably have with the professional publishing, I would say, or automated generation of content. But it still, is fairly easy for users to be able to see the content once published. And you see that I have one previously that I created, and I have first off this map that I can see right away. And I can see the data that was applied to it. Click it and open it right away. Fairly simple. And the map itself. So I can see and display the map. Now, okay, my new one is available, so I can view it and again display it. That's a fairly simple way to create outputs. So how do I know how my content, can I have some kind of overview of the different branches that I have access to? And in a way, you can directly here by searching for different context. And you see that I have here this option to see I have cargo, convertible, and notes. If I select convertible, I will see my different branches. And in these different branches, I will see the different maps. So they all, are displayed to you, so I can have a look at, what's available in there. I mentioned on the first scenarios that you could decide who sees what, and that's indeed possible. So I'll just clean up here, and we'll see how Anna, writer, sees this content. She has a little bit more work. And so again, this is the same. I have the summary of the function that I was assigned by me, to me as Anna by Zoe. And if I look through the search here, advanced search, and I look at the context, you'll see that I have more access. I can see legal content, some regulations, hard top are all other branches that I have access to. And that concludes our scenario. We've seen how to create content, edit content in various branches, and the way the system showed you the impacts and how you can select that. And now I think it's time for the Q&A session.
All right, thank you, Nolwenn. I will turn the screen back to the PowerPoint. Okay, so as mentioned before, this is where we answer your questions. So if you have any questions about the presentation, please type them into the question section of your control panel. And we do have lots of questions, so we'll try to get through as many as possible. Our first question is how to reuse images, Nolwenn. And this may have been partially answered, but...
Well, you reuse images as you reuse other objects. Images have the same kind of workflow as the topics would do. So editing an image that's reused everywhere would mean either you edit that into one version or throughout all versions. So you'd have the same kind of behavior as topics.
Okay, and we have someone else asking, data 1.3 allows scoped keys. Is IXIASOFT considering scoped keys in DRM, for example, point one section of a map to version 1 and a second section of a map to version 2?
Well, I'm not sure we're using scoped keys. I'm quite sure we are not using scoped keys to do that. But of course, you can use scoped keys in your information model within DRM.
Okay, so the next question is, what text editor is used? And then WYSIWYG question mark.
It is a flavor of Oxygen editor, which is called the Oxygen web app, which is embedded in the IXIASOFT web client. So yes, that's what it is.
Okay, another question is, what styling is used, XSLT or CSS?
I'm not sure whether that applies. If it's within the editor, it's rules through CSS mostly, through Oxygen frameworks basically. If you're talking about the publishing that I did with the PDF, that particular one was the data to PDF scenario with Antenna House in the background, so XSLFO.
Okay, and another question here. In the current CCMS, we are reusing images by placing them as con keys. Can we do it in web CCMS, or it's actually called IXIASOFT CCMS web?
Within DRM, everything is keys. So if you use concatenate, that's perfect. If you're importing content in the DRM, well, within the CCMS with the DRM feature, you'll see that your conrefs will be transformed in concatenate. So that's actually the desired behavior. So if it's already using concatenate, you know, that's even easier.
Okay, so we have two more questions here, which we'll take before we end today's show. So does it not require to go into Oxygen Editor to work on? Will this be the interface for us to do authoring?
Yes, so the interface that I showed to edit the map and to edit the topics, that's the editor that's provided for advanced user. And so that would mean, you know, probably technical writer and most advanced contributor.
Okay, and our last question for you, Nolwenn, is image editing possible inside IXIASOFT CCMS web?
So you can edit the image wrapper. You can edit the title, the description, whether it's meant for, it needs to be translated or not. Usually that's when it contains text. You can add different flavors of your image by adding, for example, high res, a low res, and a source file, but it's not a graphical editor.
Okay, so that's it for questions. And if you have any other questions, please take note of Nolwenn's email address here and you can get in touch with her directly. And that's it. So thanks everyone for tuning into IXIA Shows episode 3. And Nolwenn, thanks so much again for participating and presenting in this presentation. Our next webinar will be in the new year and will provide more information about a different topic that we have yet to choose. So stay tuned for more information about that. So thank you very much, Nolwenn, and thank you to our audience.